Hi guys, so as promised, I want to talk about balls. I've been playing with four different indoor balls recently, and without knowing the specs of each, they all play extremely differently. Now, I didn't know any of the guidelines behind the rules, but I've been playing with the Pen 26, the Franklin X26, the Onyx, and Jugs indoor balls. And because they played so differently, I thought it would be interesting to do a very basic experiment and find out exactly why they're different. Here's the Franklin X26. And just first initial thoughts, it seems very hard, very tough plastic, and it feels quite heavy in the hand compared to the Jugs, which is what I've played with most out of all the balls here. The Jugs feels very light, very soft, and a bit like the flyaway balls you used to get as kids, the footballs that would you kick and they go all over the place. They seem a bit floaty to me, unpredictable off the paddle, and I much prefer the Pen 26. It feels just right, predictable off the paddle, everything you want from a ball. So this is the much preferred ball. And the last ball we're testing is the Onyx. Now it feels very similar to the Pen 26, but just feels that wee bit firmer and maybe slightly heavier. So to recap, my first initial thoughts are that the lightest is the Jugs, and the heaviest is the Franklin. And then I'm not sure about the Pen and the Onyx. They feel similar, but we'll find out because we're going to weigh them on my scales and see what we get. All right, but before I do all that, let me school myself on what the guidelines actually say. So I went online, and the USA Pickleball Equipment Standards Manual 2021 states that the ball shall be made of durable material, molded with a smooth surface and free of texturing. The ball shall have a minimum of 26 to a maximum of 40 circular holes. Now here's the important things. The ball shall weigh between 22.1 and 26.5 grams. Okay, so that's something we can test. It might be a basic test on my kitchen scales, but at least we can test it. The ball shall have a hardness of between 40 and 50 on a durometer D scale. What the heck's a durometer D scale? Yeah, did a bit of research, looked it up. The durometer scale is a standardized way of measuring the hardness of plastics. And the scale is from 0 to 100. And all pickleballs should fall between 40 and 50 on that scale. 50 being harder, 40 being softer. So that's what it states in the guidelines. And there's two things that we're going to test. So we're going to test weight and we're going to test hardness. So yeah, I conducted the crude experiment using some kitchen scales and a durometer. Like I said, it's a very basic experiment, but still valid. I tested each ball 10 times and took the average. And here's what I found. And I was surprised. So the ball I thought was the lightest, the Jugs ball, this one, wasn't. So it was actually the Pen, my favorite ball to play with at the minute in the indoor courts. And here's a breakdown of the results that we got from both weight and hardness. The Jugs was in fact the softest. It was the softest ball by quite a long way, which probably attests to why it plays like it does, quite flighty. It doesn't come off the paddle in a hard way. It kind of reacts unpredictably sometimes on the bounce. It was a long way off in the hardness tests. The heaviest and the hardest was predictably the Franklin X26. I mean, it's a thick ball. You know, when you even look at it from the eye, it's very different to the rest. It's nowhere near as thin. It's hard. Yeah, and plays like that too. So cannons off the paddle in a quite unpredictable way, unless you're getting used to it day by day. But if you were just to pick this up, having played with all the other balls, it would come as a shock, as a surprise, because you'd be hitting a drive and it'd be going into court Z, out of the leisure centre. So yeah, it's a very different ball. So what have I learned? Well, for one, the guidelines need updated, I think. I know we need competition for ball manufacturers to provide unique products, but the range is too wide. I think we can narrow the range for hardness and weight that brings all the balls into alignment. But if the guidelines continues, it just shows the importance of having a warm-up, especially in competitive matches with the ball that's being provided, or knowing what ball you're going to be playing with at a competition or wherever you're going to be playing if it's competitive. If it's just a rec match, no worries. But yeah, it's important to know which ball you're going to play with because they all play very differently indoors. So yeah, find out which ball you'll be playing with if it's for a competitive match. And if it's for a rec match, hopefully I see you down in the court. I look forward to playing with you soon. Cheers. Bye.